Under a Dark Cloud by Louisa Scarr. Butler and West, Book 2. Read by David Wayman. For Marie and Alec, your enthusiasm is infectious. Prologue. The smell sticks in his nose, cloying and alien. It hangs in the air. He feels it down the back of his throat. It's something he's never experienced before. Instinctively, it makes his heart race. He opens his eyes. His vision is blurry. All he can see is a grey tinge of moonlight, and he gropes around to try and find his glasses. He's aware his hands feel dirty, a layer of something sticky on his skin. He's seeing double. He blinks and pushes his fingers into his eyes until a kaleidoscope of colour dances on his retinas. The fuzziness persists, but even through the darkened haze, he can see his hands are stained a deep red. The stuff is everywhere, under his nails, all down his arms. Some of it has started to dry, and he rubs at his palm with a finger. He glances down at his t-shirt. It's stained and filthy. He can sense damp patches under his arms and down his back. He feels cold, his body starting to shiver. He squints to force his eyes to focus. He is sitting on a hard, rough floor, slumped against a metal cabinet. He is in a large vehicle, what appears to be the back of a truck or a van. His mind feels like pieces of a wet jigsaw, soggy and fragmented, unable to fit together. He can't remember what he did to get himself here. He puts his hands either side of him to push himself up, recoiling as he touches a puddle of something wet. He looks frantically around the small space. He can just make out the indistinct edges of cupboards, the side of a table, papers scattered across the floor, some soaking in patches of the same stuff he's sitting in. And then he knows what it is. It's blood. Blood is everywhere. Pools of it across the floor, spatters across the cupboards and ceiling and windows, covering his jeans and t-shirt and skin. He tastes it in his mouth, metal and rust, the smell of it in his nose. It's hideous, and bile rises in his stomach. He starts to panic, his heart racing, adrenaline jolting his body into action. But then he freezes. He sees it now. Something in front of him, lying in the middle of the floor, half hidden under the table, something more horrifying than the blood. He jumps away, the back of his head hitting a corner of a cupboard, sharp and painful. He pulls his knees up to his chest, wrapping his arms around them, his body locked in fear. He pushes his eyes tightly shut, his hands ball into fists. He starts to rock. And then a noise fills the inside of the van. It is loud and terrifying. And, after a moment, he realizes it's coming from his own mouth. It echoes off the walls, making his throat roar, draining the air from his lungs. He is screaming, and he knows there is nothing he can do to make himself stop. Part 1. 1. Wednesday. At first, a buzz, a fractious whine, intermittent next to him. He wakes with a jerk, his hand groping on his bedside table. He picks up his phone and holds it to his ear. "Butler," he grunts. He opens his eyes and glances across to the clock, bright digits shining in the hazy glow of the morning. 5:42 a.m. "DS Robin Butler? This is DC Gray from Thames Valley Police. I'm sorry to wake you." The voice sounds nervous and young. Robin clears his throat, leaning back against the pillow. "How can I help you, DC Gray?" he mutters, scratching his chest absent-mindedly. "I'm sorry," the voice apologizes again. "I was told to call you. I'm sorry it's so early." He's stuttering to get the words out, and Robin grits his teeth. "Get to the point, Detective Constable." "Yes, sorry. It's about your friend, Dr. Finn Mason." Robin frowns, struggling to digest the information. "What about Finn?" he asks. He's involved in an incident, Gray continues, and he's asking for you. Normally we wouldn't call, but because you're a detective. Robin sits up in bed. What sort of incident? He snaps. Is he okay? Gray hesitates. Yes, he's fine, he says at last. Well, not exactly fine. We're not sure yet. We're struggling to work out what's going on. Perhaps you could come up here. Is he injured? We don't think so, no. But... He pauses again. He's locked in a van and he's refusing to come out. Robin switches on the light next to him. His brain is only half awake, and Gray's confusing waffle isn't helping. He didn't sleep well last night thanks to the massive storm raging outside the house until the early hours of the morning. Why is he locked in a van? Just come up here and my DI can explain. Text me the location. I'll be with you as soon as I can. Robin hangs up, then stares at his phone as the information comes through. The Oracle multi-story car park in the middle of Reading. Top floor. Light is starting to trickle in through the curtains. Robin lies back on his pillow for a moment, stretching out in the middle of the bed, enjoying the last luxury of warmth. He can't understand what's going on. What is Finn doing in a van on top of a multi-story car park? And why is it a matter for a detective inspector? He hauls himself out of bed, has a quick shave and a shower, and dresses in the first clothes to hand, jeans and a shirt. He dries his short hair roughly with a towel and smooths it down with his fingers. As Robin goes downstairs, he considers when he last spoke to his best friend. They had met up to celebrate Finn's birthday in February. He had been talking about a big project he was working on, some weather instrument. Robin hadn't understood the details, but Finn had been excited. Robin remembers the conditions last night, the rain hurling itself against the window, the wind so strong it felt like it could rip every tile from his roof. The forecasters had told people to stay inside, but Robin knew that was the sort of storm Finn lived for. He hadn't been out in that, surely. He looked out of his window now, the weather calm again. His road littered with twigs and leaves and rubbish, the pavements wet and puddled. The quiet is bizarre in contrast to last night. He had lain in bed in the darkness listening to the rolls of thunder booming, otherworldly, across the night sky, hoping a tree wouldn't come through his ceiling. But hours passed and the storm abated. Robin wondered now, what new one has begun for Finn? He puts the kettle on, spooning a generous helping of instant coffee into his travel mug. Caffeine is always the priority, and he can grab breakfast later. As the kettle boils, he stands in the doorway to his living room. His furniture is stacked up against one wall, a step-ladder leaning against another. Strips of wallpaper dangle from where he was removing it at the weekend. It looks a mess, and he wonders when he's going to have time to finish. Still, small steps. He feels a grudging swell of pride that he's actually even started. Robin makes his coffee, then leaves the house, glancing upwards to his roof as he climbs into his faithful Volvo V60. All tiles intact. That's something, he thinks, as he starts the engine, taking a swig of his coffee, then resting it in the cup holder. The roads are clear as he heads out, but the residual mess shows the extent of the storm. Broken roof slates lie scattered across the tarmac, fences lean drunkenly against fallen trees, puddles rise into giant waves as his car charges through them. The wind has brought down a power line on one of the main roads, and it holds up his progress, waiting patiently for the uniform to wave him through. The yellow and blue police car creating a temporary cordon. As he eventually turns onto the deserted M3, he dials a number, and it rings over the hands-free speaker. It goes to voicemail. DCI Neil Baker's rough London tones fill the car, and he hangs up before leaving a message. There's still time, he thinks, glancing at the clock. Nobody's expecting him at work yet, and besides, he's not sure what explanation to give. Personal matter or police business, it's unclear. He debates calling his DC Freya West, but leaves it for the moment. He doesn't want to wake her. She won't care where he is for at least another few hours. He's noticed she's been looking a bit worn around the edges of late, and remembers her mentioning a bout of insomnia. He dismisses the niggle. He'll speak to her later. Robin knows where he's going. North on the M3, then up the A33 past Basingstoke towards Reading. Radio 2 plays, more of a distraction than anything else.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?